grown-ups who heard the story from the horse's mouth being yours truly, thought it was a fairy tale, that I was inventing the confabulations with the old man, inventing the arrests, inventing Isabeau and the other kids hiding in the house on the Embankment, inventing the dead raincoat, inventing the secret passages between the apartments, to say nothing of the tunnel under the river Styx. Inventing the big steel door with the rusted open lock that led to the steel staircase, that led to the great hall with humongous chandeliers and humongouser windows covered with window curtains so thick they suffocated sounds coming from the street I supposed was outside. Well, the laugh's on them, right? Because the editor, who is publishing this book, he didn't believe me neither until I went and showed him the secret passages and the tunnel and the big steel door with the rusted open lock. I couldn't show him the old man because by that time he was dead and buried. As for who the old man was, I was pretty innocent when I first climbed the spiral steel staircase to his apartment. He told me he helped run the country. He told me he was a sort of assistant czar. He told me he personally knew esteemed Comrade Stalin. Like, I'm no longer innocent, by the way. Innocence is what the old man took from me in exchange for confabulation. But hey, that's a whole other story. Here goes nothing. It's me, Leon. The Leon who got to be friends with this old man in the last weeks of his life before he met his maker. Assuming his maker, given the old man's awful iodine breath, was willing to meet him. The Leon who was on the listening end of confabulations with the old man. My questions fish-hooking his answers, which I scribbled on the pages of a lined notebook as soon as I got back home. The Leon who hung out with him in his apartment when nobody else could get within shouting distance, except for the comrades he called kittens, them and the household, who skimmed the marble floors of the palace in bedroom slippers so as not to wake him because it was supposed, at his age, not to mention what he might have had on his conscience being that he helped run the country, he didn't sleep all that much, which turned out to be more or less factual. You're thinking to yourself, like, how could the kid know a detail like that if he hadn't been there like he says he was? I suppose I need to start at the start. The only problem being, I'm not sure I can identify the start. Maybe it was my dad dying of radiation poisoning. You'll probably recognize his name, David Rozental. He was famous here in Russia, at least. He was the nuclear physicist who came up with the quantum field model of the weak nuclear force. Being my father's son, I actually understand it. He was the one who convinced the General Secretary it was theoretically possible to make an atomic bomb. I think that's when they gave him the Pobeda with the golf club gear shift. Later, he was in charge of the super-secret Laboratory No. 2 in the Academy of Sciences and organized Russia's first chain reaction. It wasn't cooled by heavy water because Russia didn't have heavy water. They used graphite to slow down the chain. Naturally, it didn't slow down and overheated. Everyone bolted except for my dad, who tried to save the precious uranium in the rods because Russia didn't have all that much uranium neither. When my dad didn't come home from work that day, my mother, thinking he might have been arrested, hoping he had been arrested because the alternative was too awful, made frantic phone calls until she fell on someone at the laboratory who told her what happened and made her swear not to say who told her. I heard my mom utter a swear word as she hung down the phone and break into hysterical sobs. Seeing her cry, naturally I cried too, though at the time I wasn't sure what I was crying about. That was 4 years ago, in 1949. I was 6, going on 6.5. David Rozental was awarded the Order of Lenin for his work on First Lightning, which was the code name for our first Soviet atomic bomb. My mom took me with her to a secret ceremony in a stuffy hotel room filled with papier-mâché funeral flowers and stone-faced men who looked as if they were suffering from terminal heartburn. They gave me American chewing gum and a real NKVD badge. One of them, a little guy with thick heels on his shoes to make him taller and a monocle glued to his left eye, stepped up to my mother and planted a noisy kiss on both of her ashy cheeks, then permitted